Hello, hello everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Please settle down wherever you are. We're about to begin. So say hello wherever you are. Where are you coming from today? Where are you coming from? Where are you joining us? Let me know in the chat. Really excited to be with you this evening in our Enrollment Symposium. Let's return to the fields. Welcome, 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 everyone. Hello, hello, everyone. Good evening, good evening. We are here today at the symposium, our first symposium this year. And I am here as the founder of Warrior Mystery School, Joy Muhami, for those who are meeting me for the first time. I am an oracle, a quantum healer, a psycho-spiritual healer as well, a grid keeper, a grid worker. And I'm going to be journeying with you in the next 3 days. I'm excited to have you here, and I'm coming from Gaborone, Botswana. I see Johannesburg is in the house, Pretoria, California, amazing, beautiful Cape Town in the house. Thank you, everyone. Marvin in the house, amazing, beautiful. Yes, okay. Welcome to the sacred space. As you are joining in and settling in, I want to also take this chance to also welcome and introduce my team that are here with me and they're going to be doing the symposium with me. Nunufan Lekau is here. She is our operation manager and she's going to be joining me tomorrow for Lineage Legacy. So we're going to be going deeper into that and all things money as well. So if you have any questions with regards to how we do things, that's the person to go to. She's going to support me with that. And also in the call is Wef Xavier. He's here. He's going to be joining me on Thursday, where we're going to be talking about our membership, the Lineage Liberator membership, which we are co-facilitating. He's also the creative and community guide for what I missed his course. So if you have any questions with regards to the membership and the work that we're doing here, you can also connect with him even throughout today. If you want to just cross-check something, you can cross-check with them. They will be in the chat looking at some of the questions that you have, some of the comments or anything that you really want to share. So feel free to do that. Okay. So as usual, when we begin a new thing, a new iteration of something, we begin by blessing the space, which is what I want to invite you all to begin to settle down for that part of the process, right? So let's settle down, and when you are ready, we're going to bless the space with prayer and also really just tap our toes into the fields a little bit before we jump into like really understanding what we mean by the fields. Okay, so are you ready? Are you ready to return to the fields? Please feel free to use the chat if you want to just communicate throughout the masterclass. And if you have any questions, you can use the Q&A to ask specific questions towards particularly the end of the session today. I'm gonna really try to make it 2 hours as promised. So we're gonna jump in now. So wherever you are, I'm inviting you to Bring your hand into a prayer position. You can also bring the hand to the heart if that feels more resonant, whichever one feels aligned for you, and you begin to close the eyes and taking a deep breath and settling down, allowing yourself to be here, to be present. I welcome you into the space and I thank you for joining us here. We are a celestial gathering of the liberation of lineages. So we are in a gathering together in the four corners of this planet, in the different lands that we are all in. We come here to commune, to contemplate, to receive transmissions, and to awaken and remember the fields and what they mean and what they represent for those of us who are here to do the work of liberation, lineage liberation, which is our theme today. So let's begin by inviting into the sacred space the presence of the living source God, the Holy Mother, the Heavenly Father, into the sacred space, our pure primordial eternal consciousness, the source God. We are asking for that divine dispensation to begin to flow in our physical bodies, to flow in the spaces that we're in, to flow into the lens that we're sitting in, wherever we are. In the four corners of the spaces that we're in, we are inviting the resurrection of the Holy Spirit to begin to enter the space, to begin to enter the land, the field that you are residing in. We are also asking for the presence of the sacred fire that is within ourselves, the sacred fire that is the pure Holy Spirit, that is the pure Christed impulse, the cosmic Christ. We are invoking this within our blood for it to awaken our blood, to awaken our DNA, to awaken our memories. Today, as we come in communion as a gathering, we come in the presence and in the covering and in the protection and in the leadership of this primordial spark, this eternal light that is the source of our genesis, and that is the source of all that is that we see all around us. And so we pay reverence and honor to that aspect within ourselves, our godhood, and also the godhood that is the source of all. And in particular, we come here today in front of the living light to invoke and to awaken the temple of our ancestors. We are invoking the field of our ancestors, those that are connected to us through the blood of our mothers and the blood of our fathers, those who go as far back as the beginning of time, the ancient ones. We are in reverence to them and we invite them into the sacred celestial gathering, that they may lead us and they may remind us of the purpose of why we're here, why we are drawn to this space, why you're here to return to the field. And so that all that we do continues to honor, continues to resurrect, continues to liberate, to purify, to restore that eternal spark that runs in our blood, that runs in the fields of those who came before us. And in particular, we are here because we are committed to the impulse of evolution, the impulse of ascension. And so that all that we do, the deeds that we do through our lives, through our hearts, through our minds, may create new pathways for those who are alive, the living generations, our kins, all the kins from all the different kingdoms, as well as those who are yet to come, those who are already on the way, on the horizon, the celestial horizon, waiting to enter the sacred, beautiful planet of ours. We are understanding and remembering and invoking that we are the liberators, the genetic path cutters, the weavers, legacy builders. And so today, with this symposium, we are contemplating on what this means for us and we're weaving a way in which we can bring this into the earth. We can ground this into the land. We can ground this into the fields. Ashe, amen. Makosi lesedi, Thokozani, Thobela. Wherever you are, thank you. Thank you for honoring this calling. Thank you for joining me today. And I want you to stay in this stillness. Feel this prayer moving through your blood. Feel this invocation. Allow it to weave into your blood, into your bones, into your hands. And I want you to begin to raise your hands. Begin to move your hands as you become aware of yourself as an eternal essence, a divine light. And begin to understand that you move and exist beyond the physical body. That in front of you, in the left, the right, behind you, there you are. And this is your field. This vast, expansive aspect of yourself that is so subtle, that is unseen to the physical eye, but is seen through the eyes of the divine. That energy, that essence of yourself that goes beyond the material is the field. And I want you to begin to explore the field. This field that is filled with the Holy Spirit, with that Christ impulse. Allow yourself to feel how alive this field is. How electric it is. How magnetic this field is. This is the same field that informs all your daily experiences. This field holds your memories, and it holds the thread, the golden thread that connects you to the higher heavenly realms, higher heavenly worlds. It is so subtle, but if you move, you can begin to move the body. You will feel how alive that field is. And feel how it's magnetized to the land. And if you are able to, allow your hands to connect with the land that you're sitting in. And feel the beat of the land of your ancestors, the land of your daily experiences. That's the field as well. That is the land. Notice how alive it is, how grounding it is. You are touching the belly, maybe the nose of Mother Earth, maybe the heart, maybe the lungs. And understand that if you're touching the mother, you are also part of this body. You are the cells, and you are alive, and you are in relationship with this land. And you are in relationship to this field that extends in all directions. And if you listen even more deeper and deeper, you will be able to hear in the stillness all the other kingdoms. you will also be able to hear the voices of those who are outside the earth, those we call our ancestors, the earth and cosmic ancestors. They communicate with us and commune with us through the field. Listen. Allow yourself to feel how alive this field is. And also how you are able to command this field to move and allow not only your field, but the earth's field to respond to you. And so that which you say to the earth will be weaved into your daily lives. You are informing the earth what to create as part of your life. So I want to invite you into that. I want you to think about your lineage, to listen to the voices of your lineage. And if you are open to it, inform your field, what you are creating for your lineage, in honor of your lineage. Inform the earth, the land, where you are going. Drop into that space and see and remember yourself as a co-creator with the field, with the land. What are you creating? What do you want to create for your lineage? What is the legacy you want to leave for your lineage? In what ways do you wish to liberate your lineage? And whatever is coming up for you, I want you to imagine that you are taking these words that you are saying, that you are thinking, and you begin to weave them into your field as if you are connecting them to your field. You are making your words and the field as one. And weave them even to the earth. Allow the earth, the land, to know where you want to go. And weave them in the way that feels natural for you. If you were a weaver, how would you weave? How would you put your prayer in your field? Your desires, your wishes in your field. Beautiful. And allow these words to move from the earth back into your body, through the feet, all the way up to the top of your head and outwards to the rest of your field that expands and fills up the room that you are in. and trust that it is done. Declare that it is done. This prayer that you have declared, that you have weaved into your field, it is done. That you have weaved into the field of your land, it is done. And so it is. And so it is done. And beginning to return here. Still aware of the field which we will be working with today. Allow yourself to come back to our collective field, this one that we are in. And if you feel called, feel free to share in the chat what you weaved in your field. Let me know in the chat what you weaved in your field. And that is our, and a little bit of the work that we are doing here in Warrior Mistress School. It is energy medicine that we're working with, quantum work, bio-regenesis. Right, we're working with the mystery teachings and mystery technologies. All right, so let me know in the chat how that experience was like for you and what you are weaving. For your lineage. Beautiful. As you are sharing in the chat, I want to take this time to share a little bit about what I Mistress Call and what we stand for as we are in this celestial gathering. And why celestial gathering? Celestial gathering because we understand that this work that we're doing with the earth as well as with the cosmos, the star, the celestial bodies. And that in fact, we understand ourselves to be these celestial bodies. We understand our ancestors to be these celestial bodies. And so we see our lives, we see life, we see the process of healing of the spiritual journey as a celestial gathering and a celestial weaving, right? Yes, getting distracted by your comment. Beautiful, beautiful, Gogo. Thank you for sharing. And thank you for joining today. So good to see you here. Right, so everything that we are doing, we understand it as a conversation that we are having between ourselves, a conversation we're having with the earth, a conversation we're having with the stars, a conversation we're having with those who have come before us, and a conversation we're having with those who are yet to come. Right? And I thought a lot about the word lineage and what it means. For us here in Warrior Mistress School, we already understand that we are a lineage. Everyone who is drawn to the work that we're doing, they are part of our lineage. And we have an ideology of what a lineage is that I want to share with you through a virtual a representation, which I'm going to do in a little bit. I will share this. And I want to just invite you to listen to this visual presentation, to connect with it, to also share as well what is invoked for you when we start to think of lineage and the lineage that is in Warrior Mistress School. And if this is a lineage that you feel that you are drawn to and you want to be a part of. Right. Our methods of lineage. And methods means really our idea of lineage, what it is, our understanding and how we are wanting to represent or to interact with lineage. Because our work is about lineage work. It is about lineage liberation. It's about lineage legacy. Right, so our methods of lineage. We are the grails of blood, stones, and soul. Celestial children of the holy sons, whose hands are mountains, feet are fires, and hearts are rivers of a quadrant that is unforgetting itself. We are the earth walkers, star seeds, rainmakers, dream weavers, time travelers, totem keepers, ancient guardians. Natives to the wild, vast field of past and future, memory and amnesia, the seen and unseen, earth and the cosmos. And as it has always been, human and divine. We are here to gather the jewels and dreams so they may bloom as endless trees in this country of blood. We are invoking the memory of God, where the firmament is 7 roots, that is the passage of lineage. And we are the great lions running wild in our ancestral lands where time and death are one. We bow and light our souls in the middle of history and the arrival of a revolution. The revolution is the descent into the underworld and the resurrection of cosmic Christhood. Here in the belly of the eternal mother, we are the balm of medicine pouring in the wounding of our souls and of our ancestors. Our invocation, come home, fractals of our lineages. Come home, the darkness of our ancestry. Come home here in the warm embrace of our hearts. We will witness you as you are, and we will venerate all of our bones with the final sacrament. Here is purification. Here is restoration. Here is liberation. And so it is. That is what we stand for. That is what we believe. In what I must just call, it is an invocation where we are understanding that we are the continuation and we're here for a task. And that task will ask us to be brave and courageous. It will ask us to be warriors. It will ask us to step into this work of purification, of restoration, and liberation. So today I want to talk about that, about liberation and what that is and what that even looks like. And I want to reference the field report that I recently shared. I sent it yesterday into your email if you are part of the newsletter. And this field report is called A Celestial Gathering of the Liberation, the Liberation of Lineages. Right, and I will keep referencing it here, so I have it as a guide, and you can also do the same. So I'm basically going to be breaking down that field report because it's actually connected to the work that we're doing, the work that I have been called to do now. It sounds like a very specific work now where I'm focusing particularly on lineage liberation and lineage legacy, but it has always been a journey that I have been in, an initiation that I've been in. I just didn't know it the whole time. So in my journey as an initiate of the healing arts, every initiation, every training that I went through opened me up more and more. But the specific initiation that really opened me up in ways that have stayed with me and have changed the trajectory of my work is when I went through my my second initiation as an oracle. Right, in your journey, you be initiated a couple of times. And in that initiation, there was a time where I was with my mentor opening my third eye. And on the night that my third eye was open far beyond what it was before that, I had a powerful experience, visitation, if you will. I found myself in the lands of Lesotho. And I've never been to Lesotho. I didn't even know that I was connected to Lesotho in any major way. Later, I will find out that my father's people are from Lesotho. Or it was later confirmed because I asked, and yes, they said yes. So in this vision, in this visitation, I'm standing in what feels like the center of Lesotho. And there are these elders, ancient elders, who they were in a horse with the regalia, the Lesotho regalia, very potent, very powerful there, with the blanket, you know, very thorough. And they're pointing to me, like for me to look down in the earth. And as I started to look down, I can see this flow, like a flame, just running across the land of Lesotho. And then in that visitation, it's also as if I could see the whole continent because I could see how it was from Lesotho and it just went across the Southern African lands, Botswana, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Namibia, Zambia, and obviously to the rest of Africa. But like a lot of the energy that I was seeing was in primarily Southern Africa. And the Asian grandfather that was there with me, he tells me that this is the dragon ley lines. At the time, I had never heard of such a word. I like didn't even understand what that meant. And he was telling me to look again and to see what was happening with the dragon ley lines. And I was seeing, I mean, even before, I mean, it's not as if at that moment I knew how the flame was supposed to be traveling in the land, but I instantly knew that the flame this light, which is later I understood it to be the solar Christ light, was running in reversal, was going backwards, not the way we're supposed to be going. And the ancient grandfather was telling me that this is your work. You have to come and reverse this. I mean, at the time, I was like, what? I don't understand. I don't even know how I will be able to do that. Right? Later in my journey, I came to understand that the solar Christ light, and the reason why every one of us, we have interacted with the word Christ in our journey, is because there is a truth to the idea of the Christ, it being the sacred fire that is alive in every one of us, it being the building block that makes up consciousness, right? And so consciousness is supposed to move, expand, and explore itself through this light that's within itself. And this is why in the Bible, Yeshua was talking about the kingdom being within. And if we don't think of it as Yeshua, as Christ saying, the only way to the Father is through me, but you take that to mean the only way to the Father is through the Christ, then it changes the whole understanding of that Christ, right? It is the organic, natural light that brings life, and that brings eternal life back, right? So when we are in our eternal nature, we are that Christ spark, right? That was also an initiation that I had to go through for 2 years, because I was fighting the idea of the Christ, because religion, trauma that comes with that. So the solar Christ, so the solar Christ light is what we are actually standing on it, right? But it's also this body, your body as well. So if this light is not going the way it's supposed to be going, it's going in reversal, what does that do to the body, and what does that do to the land, right? That's actually what we're here for, to understand that and to also repair that, because it can be repaired. So if we are in reversal, our lives start to also kind of look and function in a backwards fashion. And that would be degeneration, that would be suffering, that would be struggle, that would be what we are seeing in our lives, right? But of course, there is also a greater story that I want to just add into this conversation before we go deeper into what this means. I am aware that whenever we hear the word Christ, we cannot help but associate it to Christianity. But in this moment, I want to invite you to expand your gnosis, your understanding, or to suspend everything that you know about the Christ and understand that the Christ does not belong to one religion. It is Christos, it is Heru in Kemetan, is the anointed one. So that is not necessarily about a religion, but understanding it as a light that is alive in every person across the world. And it does not matter whether you call yourself Christian or not, it is in you, right? It's interesting. I did not think I'll be teaching and talking about the Christ, but here we are because it is connected, right? So back to the lands that the great ancestors were showing me. The great ancestors also showed me that the same lands that we're sitting in, they are actually the bodies of the ancestors of old, the elders. In ancient times, or in the golden ages, or before this age that we're in, there is a period in our history where people of those times lived up to almost 1 million years old. And when it was time for them to transition, they would just decide that they're transitioning. And when they transitioned, because they are energy, what they would do is just transition into a different form. And those forms are what we see all around us. These mountains, these rivers, they are actually consciousnesses of the oldest ancestors that we are connected to. And this is why there is great reverence, and this is why we are affected deeply by the waters, by the mountains, by the animals, by the trees, because they are alive and they are very old and they are very ancient and they are also connected to us. We are all part of this great song that we are dancing in, right? But the ancient elders had to go into that state of sleep for a period of time to allow us to explore ourselves in a different way. If you can live for 1,000,000 years, after a couple of million years, you get bored. So they decided to spin the game and just try living up to 100 years, what that will look like, and constrained a lot and introduce this concept of death, of like you could die from death and from accidents and disease and so forth, right? But I lost track of my thought because I received a message here. Okay, sorry. Yes, so yes, so we are these aspects of the ancestors that decided to come and live for 100 years and to experience what I call death culture, which is degeneration, which is what we're seeing in our lives. Part of this, me sharing this, is important because it's important to understand that there's a reason why we're here, and part of it is a grand design. It was intentional that we came to experience death culture and we are participating in it. But we have arrived to the point where now death culture is no longer necessary. We have explored it to the best of our abilities and we get it. It sucks. Now it's time to transcend it. And so today we are in that part of the story, the great story of who we are, where we are beginning to transcend suffering, to transcend entropy, disease, the struggles that we're seeing. When I was asking, what are you weaving? What are the things that you want to change for your family? Those are the specific forms of death culture that are alive in your lineage, right? The disease that you see your people struggling with, right? The challenges that you see them having within their careers, within their relationships, which is often that, because a lot of the struggles we have are about money and sex, right? So whatever those things are, you are here today because you are the one who is here to open a new path, to transcend these, to allow them to end with you, so that the new generation that is coming, and the new generation that is coming, it's coming because it's part of the law of the land, that the new generation come to a different earth. We have arrived to that part where we are transitioning from one form of the world that we are in to another, which is what we call the epochs, right? So before us, there used to be a different form of the human race, and after us, there will be a different one. I had this experience that really affirmed this for me. I was looking at the land here in Botswana, and I was looking at the houses here, and I was looking at the infrastructure and thinking about how, according to history, they say that we've been here, we moved from the Congo or so, at least 400-500 years ago. And so we've been residing in this land for that long. And I was thinking, so are we saying that this is the progress that Botswana people have done in the last 500 years? It does not make sense to me, because if you look at pictures of Botswana 50 years ago and you look at them now, the level of evolution is incredible, right? There were times where there was no big buildings that are done with bricks, right? Not more than 50, 70 years ago. But if we go back to like 400 years ago, if these are the houses we're living in, what were the houses we're living in 500 years ago? And then if we even go beyond that to 1,000, to another 1,000, right? And then that's when it came through with the guidance say, of course, you must understand that you have restarted before, right? And that's the whole idea of the flood in the Bible, Noah's Ark, right? It is a reflection of when there is a new age, a new epoch, a new form of humanity that has to come through, there is a cleansing that happens, and that cleansing happens through water or fire, right? And that allows the new race to restart, right? And we are actually at the point where we are about to reach that point of a restart for the new generation to come in. And because we are about to enter that part, which we call the golden age, those of us who are alive right now, we are in a powerful moment of history, and we may not know it, but every single one of you, you are here for this grand event that's happening, right? And that grand event is the preparation of this purification, this restoration, this liberation, where all the souls that are bounded here through death culture, that are also bounded in the astral, in other realms of our planet, will also be liberated, right? When we talk about the liberation of our ancestors, we mean the aspects of our ancestors that were in pain, that they were not even able to go back home after they physically shed their bodies, right? So the experiences we're seeing now are influenced by this larger events and this larger story of the land and what the land does every age, right? So we are in the Iron Age, which is called the Dark Age, the Kali Yuga. In fact, we are actually in the middle because some people believe that the Dark Age actually ended almost 100 years ago, and some people say it's gonna end 100 years later. But we are clearly in the middle between the Dark Age and the Golden Age, right? So we are here to facilitate this process. And I know this is like a big conversation that we're having, but we must have this conversation. This is the conversation we're having in Warrior Mystery School. Because if we don't know the bigger story of what we're doing, we will get lost, because it is possible to get lost. It is possible to be consumed by death culture, and not just for the physical body, but for the soul as well, which is part of what all religious and spiritual belief systems are trying to communicate, right? To not get lost in what we're seeing here, but to understand the greater story of what's happening in your life, so that you are not consumed by the storyline of your life, and then you never come out of it. You never liberate yourself, and you never liberate the ancestors before you, right? So we are here in the Kali Yuga, as the Indians say. And we have been facing the struggles that we have been facing, right? When we come to Southern Africa, I want to talk a little bit about that, because that's the work that I've been doing. The way that the Dark Age has been manifesting, particularly within the spiritual path, is that reversal that I spoke about of the solar Christ flame, it is creating, think of it, okay, so the dragon, why dragon ley lines? First of all, there's an entire wisdom there about dragon medicine, but the dragons are beings of fire, right? And so that means that in our lands here in Southern Africa, there is a fire energy that's moving here. And when you connect that to how Southern African people are, you can see how fiery they are. We are manifesting that energy of the dragon, that energy of the fire, right? And doesn't matter how our lives are, there is this impulse with how we move. And the same is true, of course, for the rest of Africa and melanated people across the world. There's this fire within ourselves. Nothing keeps us down. But when that fire is no longer channeled properly, it starts coming out as violence. It starts coming out as what we are seeing in our world with like drugs addiction, the big human trafficking connected to sex, issues of connected to money, and just all the struggles that we are having. And I've spoken about this, about like everything we're seeing, it's connected to the land and what's happening there, right? And so with this fiery energy being reversed, that means it's overpowering us, and we have this unsurmountable level of anger. And I don't know about you, if you can connect to this deep level of anger. If you are, here in the land, I personally feel it, right? And sometimes it feels like I'm not even in control of it. I understand it as part of the land. I can feel that energy bubbling up in me, right? So what this is doing is it is infecting and perverting the sacred spaces where we're supposed to be cultivating more and more of the light, right? So if we start to think about the healing spaces and spiritual spaces, whether we're talking about like religious temples, churches, monasteries, or we're talking about spiritual spaces like mystery schools, like Warrior Mystery School as an example of that, and other mystery schools, initiation schools that we have here, are we seeing that there is some distortions happening in these spaces? Are we seeing how those who are spiritually gifted go through a very painful experience in awakening their gifts, in cleansing and purifying, and in liberating our lineages? There is so much confusion. Where is this confusion coming from? Is it really true that we have to blame certain people, or is there a greater story happening? So for me, I'm here to say there is actually something bigger, right? And that something bigger is that reversal that I'm talking about, which is, yes, part of the dark age. It's supposed to happen at a certain level, but we also are inside it. So when we're inside it, there is where we can point where it's coming from, right? And that will be a force that is opposing our evolution, our return to that eternal consciousness, that vast self that we are, right? And that will be what people call the anti-life, anti-Christ, anti-God force, right? And that anti-God force, anti-life force, it is the one that's creating these reversals. But these anti-life, anti-Christ, anti-God forces, they work through us because we are in the land. So wherever you're walking, whichever land you're connected to, think about the land where you come from. And look at how, because you are in those lands, because you are from those lands, there's a certain way you are influenced by the energy of the lands of your people. There are certain struggles that you are going through that are very similar to your country folks, right? And that's because the land informs us, the field informs us of who we are, who we become. So we can no longer have a conversation about healing without talking about the lands, without talking about the fields. Which field are you in, right? So these anti-life forces, they function differently in different lands. So which is why we may find that in a particular country, there is a problem of this particular issue, right? And it's because of how different it is with each land. So I've had to take time to really converse with the land of Botswana where I am residing, and to listen to it and to hear it and to understand how it's part of the greater story of me trying to heal myself and my ancestors, right? So what we are seeing in the spaces that we are in is part of this bigger story that I'm talking about. And so what this means is that we have to start being responsible. We can no longer put it on the priests, the prophets, the healers, the shamans, the oracles, the priestesses, it's now time, we're at part of the story where we have to take over and understand that, oh, this is a relationship I'm having with the land. You can have guardianship. You can be guided. You can be mentored. In fact, you should be guided and mentored, because what I'm talking about has happened for me because I had that guardianship, mentorship in the journey to understand what's going on. Right. But the actual work of liberation requires that you take control of your spiritual journey and you wake up and you begin to discern what is truth and what is false. Where am I in false light and where am I in true light? Right? True light is like the sun. It's so vast and it's so hot and warm. And because it's hot and warm, sometimes it's uncomfortable. Right? You've ever been when it's really, really hot? You're just like, I can't breathe. Right? That's the truth. But false light makes you feel like this is the right, perfect warmth, because you can adjust it to what you need it to be. We can't adjust the sun. If the sun is hot that day, it's hot that day. But we can adjust our red lights to the level in which we want them to be. That's a little bit of the false light. Every spiritual truth where you find yourself adjusting for it to fit to what you want it to mean, often we're working with false light. So an example of that would be, I'm going to pray right now that I get this particular thing by Friday. And, you know, the God of my priest is going to make it happen. I'm going to do this ritual. And after I do this ritual, everything is going to be okay forever and ever. Right? These are like little lies we're telling ourselves. It's false light. I mean, it sounds perfect and innocent, but often that's like a delay that is making you not be more accountable and responsible. And the thing about liberation is that it requires that you be responsible, right? It requires that you look into places that you don't want to look at, and you look at in the places where this is gonna hurt when I say it, because I've had to listen to it myself, had to be told this over and over. I'm still continuously being told this and over, where you are being lazy, right? Where are you being lazy with your life? Just want to invite you into that. Where are you being lazy with your life? Where are you being lazy with your spirituality? Where you've been lazy with your relationships, where you've been lazy with your money, where you've been lazy with your purpose, with your career, where you're expecting something to come and sweep over and then deliver you the thing. Right? So that's the conversation that we have to enter into. And that's the conversation we're having in What I Mystery School. It is not fun because it's very confronting. And I'll tell you, in my human design, my incarnational cross is the incarnational cross. It's called the right angle of tension. I absolutely dislike that this is my incarnational cross, because what that means is that I'm here to literally create tension in people's lives. And that's really annoying, because it means I've literally had friends saying, Joy, I'm not coming to see you because I know you're going to ask me a very hard question and I don't want to deal with it. I want to pretend right now and I don't want to hear your tough questions. Right. And the truth is, I don't really do it deliberately. It's just what I'm here to do. It's my incarnation. It's the cross I'm here to bear, to bear. Right. I have to carry this cross and accept that I will be the person who creates tension in people's lives. And so, of course, the work I'm doing, also what I'm used to school, creates tension. But with tension, there is liberation that can come, because in you being forced to see the ways in which you were being lazy, then you can do and make a different choice, right? And that's the path of mastery. That's the path of the warrior. The warrior has to bear the truth, to receive the truth, even if they will rather not. So this is the process that I'm in, and this is the process that we're doing in Warrior Mistress School. We are in the process of mastering and transcending death culture. Can we transcend suffering? Can we really actually change the disease patterns we're seeing in our family? If you are born in a family that has diabetes, is it possible to actually not experience diabetes or to actually cure diabetes, for example? The ancient mystery teachings and the oral traditions that the griots of our people, those who were the oral historians, tells us, yes, that we can heal what we assume at this point that cannot be cured is just the way it is. If I come from a lineage where there's always been struggles with marriage, that's just the way it's gonna be. If they struggle with money, that's just the way it's gonna be, right? But that's literally just surrendering to the illusion that you are not a child of God, that you are not divine, that you don't have the power in you. But of course you do, because you are literally the sun. You are an incarnation of the sun. This is what it means to be a Christ. You are a spark of the sun, a life-giving, generating body, celestial body. That's what you are. Right? But we have been in the suppression of wisdom and teachings, which is why what I Mistress School is bringing these teachings back, so that you can reconnect with the power within yourself, so that you can awaken to that greater truth of your eternal nature. In our eternal nature, things like miracles become common events in our daily lives, right? And a lot of us, we think miracles are, I can always just laugh how people, like, sometimes when they come to me, they're expecting me to like touch them and then a miracle happens. And often it's always as if like someone else has the ability to create a miracle while you don't, right? Like God gives others abilities to do miracles and others not to. The truth is that the miraculous has a lot to do with us changing our mind, changing our hearts, and really being really brave, honestly, to have difficult conversations, right? Which is the warrior, right? So if you are on that path of, I want to change things, what you saw in your field earlier when we were in the field, that's going to require that you really change your mind. You have to accept that you could be wrong, right? Someone earlier asked about like, what is the difference between me and Christianity, because I'm quoting Bible verses. And that question feels like a pain for you. I understand where it comes from, because we were taught that someone who quotes Bible verses, that this, your mind has already decided what I am based on a saying I said. Think about all the other ways in which you do the same for yourself and in your life, where you hear one thing and then it means something for the rest of your life. When you hear someone saying, no, not today, I can hang out with you today, then it means they don't like me forever. Right? So when we're looking for miracles, when we're looking for liberation, what we need to do is to begin with our mind, to change the mind, to merge with a greater mind, which is the mind of God. And that's a process. It's a strange process. It's uncomfortable. It requires that you go up the mountain, go into the waters, go into the caves, sleep outside, and commune with a greater body than yourself. And these miracles, they will begin to happen. You will begin to transcend the suffering of your life. Are you with me? What is speaking to you? Let me know. Let's be in conversation. I know I'm here with big conversations. Yes, thank you, Coco. Yes, this is not an either or end, right? Yes, this is definitely a shift into that higher consciousness. That's what we are doing here, right? It's what we call an evolutionary process. The thing is, we are all required to start thinking differently. It is actually a journey that's already happening, right? The Son is already doing that. The elders are already doing that. God is already doing that. But the thing is, you can either fight this or you can delay it or you can opt out and be like, I don't want to consciously participate. I will only do it when I'm forced to, which often means I will wait until death culture comes for me, until a suffering happens, until a disease happens. That's the only time I will step into healing. And I want to alert us to also this part of the conversation where certain things are happening and they are influenced by this anti-life force that is deliberately delaying you and delaying all of us, right? Later on, what I've come to understand, because I used to not understand like why, for example, a lot of the people who are here are South Africans. Let me see how many people here are South Africans. Share with a heart in the chat. I'm just curious to know. But yes, South Africa has my heart. Um, and I never knew this before I started this work, but I kept being led there. And that's because the land of South Africa is holding such powerful, potent energy in the fields, right? Um, and this solar Christ flame is already there in South Africa, which you can see how alive it is with the diversity of your land, right? When I started this journey, I mean, I just used to say, oh, my ancestors are connected to South Africa, but now I've come to really understand how connected they are, right? And where they come from in South Africa. And that's why I kept being led back there. So it is my land as well. So many people. Yes. Oh, thank you for the hearts. Yes. So thank you, Coco. Yes. So yeah, so what's happening in South Africa is really beautiful because we're seeing a lot of people waking up. But if you're here, I want you to know that in this awakening that's happening in the land of South Africa, there's also that force that's trying to delay that process for the collective star seeds that are there, the rainmakers, the earth keepers, these people that I said we are, right, in the methods of our lineage, right? There is that delay. And if you are here and you're at the beginning of your journey or you are already in the middle and you're moving back and forth between um, tipping in and just learning about spirituality and then still kind of like leaving when it gets uncomfortable. I want you to become, moving forward, to become aware of whether that's a true force within yourself or it's an energy pulling you back from your legacy, from your potential, from your true role that you're here to do, from the impact you can create in your family, from the liberation you can do in the family. Right? I say this because I've had many experiences of being in that land and seeing how that's really happening. And the same is happening in other parts of the world. Right? I just speak of this because of like interacting a lot with Botswana and South Africa. Right. So right now, I want to share that ancient mystery teachings have returned to these lands of ours, and they are alive in your blood. They're alive in your field, and they're alive in the land. The solar Christ flame that I said has been reversing, it's being repaired. Each time one of us wakes up and takes the mantle, we begin to repair the land because that reparation is also happening through your body, which is why you have been feeling a lot of energy, that exhaustion, sleeping or not sleeping. It's part of that purification that's happening. And all that's required is for us to say yes to this path of healing. And then we'll begin to repair. And we're doing it obviously for the future generations, but also for ourselves. It's what we came here to do. Right? So that cleansing is happening, but it also requires that, as I said, we start stepping into more embodied, sovereign ways of doing our healing and doing our spirituality and engaging with it and asking hard questions and also choosing what may seem like the longer path, but it is the organic path because it's in alignment with the law of the land, which is the law of Ubuntu. That all that you're doing is contributing to the collective wellness of your family, of your lineage, of the collective community. Because if we're no longer thinking about that, that's like at the core essence of African spirituality, it's Ubuntu, it's collective healing, which is what we are doing in Warrior Mystery School. Right? So lineage liberation for us is a way in which we transcend death culture, which we do through collaborative and communal healing, but also responsible healing, where we are no longer waiting for someone else to tell us the answers, but we go within and we connect with the field. Because in the way that I'm talking about the elders communicating with me, this is what every one of us can do. And it sounds like so complex and complicated, but that's because maybe we are refusing to listen. The more you listen, even the process that we did, it may have felt like, oh, this is weird and strange and I don't know what's happening. But the more you do it, the more you will literally start to feel and hear your field. And it will affect you and influence you, and you can begin to inform it to create something different. And that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to inform the land. The land is like a flower in the way that when you tell a flower beautiful, affirming words, it blooms. The way you do that with a child, the same can be done with the land, right? So we are in that process in what I Mystery School of lineage liberation that is including consciously engaging with a greater spirituality and a greater understanding of ourselves, that we cannot heal by ourselves and you can't try to just heal you. You have to try to heal the whole family, right? So this is the invitation. And we have different offerings here in Warrior Mystery Schools that are attempting to do this. We are attempting, not attempting, we are doing this. Okay, we will be helping you to remember your true nature, not as you listening to me right now, but something you really know in your being, to walk knowing that you are an eternal divine being. When you do that, you are changing the heart, you are changing the field, you are changing the land, and things that look like they're miracles, they start to happen as part of your life. So what that looks like to walk like you're a child of God and that you are part of the Godhead. That's what we are invested in. So in a way, a huge part of like what I do, even when I'm working one-on-one, a lot of the comments I always hear from people is, I feel really connected to God. Thank you for returning me to God. And for me, returning to the fields is returning to God. Right? It's returning to what we call the cosmic Christhood. Right? So that's what a mystery school is for. And that's not a conversation of religion or a spiritual belief system. It's a conversation of who you are. It's your nature. And you don't need a church or a pastor or a priest or a shaman or even an oracle, me, to tell you, right? But you can be guided into that to experience that. We are also really interested in how to work with our relationships, the relationships that we are in with our mothers and our fathers, our siblings, the relationships that we're in with our friends, with our intimate partners, because they are a huge part of your life and they're a huge part of liberation. If you want to liberate yourself, you have to step into right relating, sacred relationships which is not an easy thing, but it's where, as you've seen, where we will be most challenged and where we can truly return um, that light, and we can begin to experience love as our true nature as well, right? Unconditional love, right? So that's the challenge that we are in, that you are here to do. And we are also, as I mentioned, wanting not only to awaken you to the true and the fourth light, but to really understand how to discern them. This is what we call the topic of all topics. I had a huge resistance to teaching this because it makes people afraid. But I want to invite you to something that Worth likes to say, actually, that for you to really be free, like the thing that you fear, you really, this is not how he says it, but like the thing that you fear, you really have to know it and face it, because that's the only way you can know how to transcend it, right? So sometimes if you really want to stop a thief from stealing from you over and over again, you might have to literally go hang out with thieves to go learn how they steal what they steal, so that you can begin to protect yourself properly. Not to be a thief, but to learn it. So if you're constantly in fear and you don't want to hear anything about it, then you can't protect yourself, right? So this is why this conversation, and I have these conversations that I had, we will want, most people want things that make them feel good, right? And I can make you feel good, but I would not continue and perpetuate that as the only reality you are in, because there is harsh truth and realities that are part of our experience right now, and we have to confront them and we have to learn to navigate them. And that's what I'm really interested in giving us tools and technologies that help us navigate the struggles and the challenges of our lives, right? And really teaching you to be a master, to recognize in the ways in which you are consenting to be misinformed, the ways in which you are, a lot of us, we're so attached to our belief systems. We're attached to being African people. We're attached to our African spirituality. We're attached to our Christianity, our religions. We're attached to our culture, the norms of our people. We're attached to what our mother said when we were 5 years old. And these are things that inform our experiences. So sometimes in your journey, you have to step back and look at everything and assess, is this informing my field in ways that give me life, that is regenerative, right? Am I alive in this, or does this steal my joy? Does this lead me back into struggle and suffering, right? And that's a hard question, really, because it will ask you to ask yourself questions even with things that you may be attached to, particularly like the way we're so attached to our cultures and our spiritual belief systems. But the true path, if I'm being honest, is that you will constantly be asked to shed every belief system that you have until you find the true one. And I think that's the only place where death culture is important, when you allow your ego to die, all these ideas for them to die, so new ones, true ones can be born, right? And just stepping into relating to the laws of the land, understanding them like natural laws, God's sovereign laws. What are these, right? And how can I work with them to create a more fulfilling life for myself, to create a liberated life for me and my lineage, right? And of course, we are very much interested in retaining the cosmic wisdom, celestial events, understanding how they influence us in our daily lives, right? And that changes the game, because your life becomes more spiritual, which is how it was always supposed to be, right? It was never about us being so drawn and so fixated with the physical, right? And like the greater part of the work is working with the blood, with the DNA. And part of that is helping you purify and cleanse the blood, the influence of your ancestors, right? The patterns that you are seeing, It's the core of what we're doing, really. DNA um, regeneration, or what is called bio-regenesis. Bio-regenesis is literally bringing life back to the biology, the physical body. I I have always been obsessed with, can we cure disease ever since I was a child. Like, I saw all the illnesses and I just wanted, especially out here, like, oh, there's no cure for that. I'll be like, really, why? Why is there no cure? Like, what is this thing that, you know, was created just for the complete suffering and there's no solution out of it? And that's what lineage liberation is about. I believe and I have seen that our ancestors, the elders before us, always had medicine for every illness. And if they didn't have it, they will find it. And they often found it within the greater light within themselves, right? The spiritual light, the spiritual forces within themselves, which is what we're cultivating and what our mistress call. And I'm particularly cultivating this in Lineage Liberation. Lineage Liberation Apprenticeship Program is my 1-year program where I will be training healers on bioregenesis. How can we literally bring life back into the lives of our people and into the lives of our clients and the lives of their lineages, right? So a lot of us, we are more in, like, the experience that we've had with healing has been, I am in this crisis today, so I need help to navigate this crisis, which is okay. So, but it just means that we are constantly just pouring the water when the fire comes, instead of like thinking of how can we build sacred, safe spaces where the fire doesn't always come so regularly. Right. So bioregenesis is that, and these are teachings that I have received from my training, but there are also really teachings that are in what we call genetic records. And the genetic records are buried in our DNA, and they're buried in the fields. The consciousness that is called Itongo, Amatongo, holds this information of how we can change the blood and we can remove the information stored in your blood such that your blood doesn't keep mutating and it doesn't keep creating the same diseases and struggles as it's been doing with those who came before you. And this is a very unique, but also it's an ancient technology. It's always been there, but we lost it as we went deeper and deeper into this experience that we've been in of individuation. But now this has come back, and the Lineage Apprenticeship Program is like me really returning this to those who are also the grail keepers. They are here for the blood transformation, DNA regenesis. Right? And so this work is intense and big. Right? So it may not be for everyone, but for those who are here and for those who are hearing this and they resonate with that, if you know you are here for ancestral lineage healing and you know that you want to expand how you've been doing ancestral lineage healing and you want to fuse in what I'm talking about, which is working with the field, which is quantum healing, which is bioregenesis science, that's what we're doing with this apprenticeship, right? Everything that we are now doing in Ora Mistress School has been a directive that I was given by the elders. I had to learn to listen, and that's where we are being invited to listen more and more. And so because of that, the apprenticeship program will be for those who are actually currently actively healing. So that means you at least have to been working or have worked with like 20 people minimum, right? And you are committed to be a healer. The reason why that's the case is because the level in which we are going, and also really we're going to spend a lot of time talking about healing. So if you're not interested in healing, it will be a waste of your time and energy and your investment, your resources, right? But I'm speaking to you because maybe you will become that healer someday, or you are that healer already now, right? And you are looking and you've been seeing like limitations with the current way you've been healing, or you're just really interested in expanding how you do ancestral healing. If you feel like this is your calling to really transform the patterns of people's lineages, then this is something that I invite you to look into, to connect with, to listen if this is the next path. I do want to reiterate that this is not an initiation, because I do not initiate in the context of say Obongoma, because I am not a Sangoma, right? So a lot of people can come thinking, oh, I'm initiating. It's not initiation. And for that, you would need to go to a shamanic initiation school. This is mystery teachings. And so they are supplementary, they are expanding what you may have learned in your initiation school, or they're expanding the training you've received. You don't have to be an initiated healer to do this. You could even be a coach, or you could be a therapist or psychiatrist, any form of healing artistry that you are doing. You can come and do this, but you have to come with that awareness that it's not an initiation in the context of this particular rite of passages that you receive with other trainings in Africa, because I'm doing something different. I'm bringing records in a different fashion, in a different way. This is why I keep asking, you have to really be sure. You have to go consult if this is the right path for you, right? So that training is open as all the courses that we have. And we're beginning May 15th. And you will experience your own ancestral lineage healing. In the course, we will begin with healing your lineage, and then the second semester will be focusing on you learning bio-regenesis or quantum healing, this method of DNA shifting that I'm talking about, right, which works with a lot of energy elements, right? So it's a spiritual practice rather than a physical way of healing ancestral work, ancestral lineages, right? So instead of like using the water, physical waters, we're working with the crystalline waters, which are also very much potent because they go into even deeper aspects of the self, right? So it's a multi-dimensional approach. And then the apprenticeship also has a component of the practicum where you will work with clients, and I'll be supervising and guiding you through that process and ensuring that you truly know how to facilitate this process. So this is a protocol that I have been developing, and now I'm teaching others. And it's a protocol that you learn how to do it, and then you go expand it or you integrate it into your work. Right? So I'm not married to, oh, you have to do it exactly how I've done it, but I'm interested in bringing these new, it's actually ancient future ways of healing, right? Transcending death culture. Are we not interested as healers to actually really cure people from diseases that they've been stuck in for a really long time? Why is it that we speak about like miracles happening in the church, but we're not having miracles happening in our healing rooms? The thing is because maybe we have this limited idea that it's not possible, but it is possible. And so through this methodology, that is what we are cultivating. True healing of the lineage, true healing of the blood, right? So if you are interested in this, I invite you to check out Lineage Liberation to read the entire document. We also have a prospectus, like it's almost 30 pages, because I literally love explaining things and what I'm doing. You can learn more about what we're doing. And the investment for this is also an investment that you have to be ready to do, because it has to feel like a yes, absolutely. This is what I've been looking for. This is part of my mission, right? It doesn't even mean that you want to be a lineage healer, but it just means that maybe even in your work, you keep interacting and seeing that there are issues that are ancestral and you can't skip them. You know, whether you are like a money coach, or a womb healer, or a psychologist, or a financial coach, whatever it is, you keep finding this coming up. So it may serve you to explore and learn ancestral healing, right? So that is Lineage Liberation. That is open. We are offering also other offers in Water schools that we're going to go into in the next coming days. But today I wanted to introduce this bigger work, which is the core of almost every course that we're having. We just do them differently with each one. So the one I was talking about is where you will be learning how to do ancestral lineage healing using this unique modality of quantum mechanics and bio-regenesis. And if you don't understand what I'm talking about, like, you will understand as you are around. If you join this community, you will eventually understand what I'm talking about, right? Because these are new languages of the spirit, but they're also really still connected to the old languages, right? So this is what I wanted to share with you all today. If you have any questions, you can let me know in the Q&A, and I can begin to share that, or you can share with me, with us, what you received, or what you're taking away today from this transmission, right? My interest and my commitment at this point in my work is to do work that will transcend me, right? And to do work in community, which has not necessarily been an easy thing for me and for my ancestors, because we are people who love control. But I am learning and expanding and inviting you all to participate in this process, in this movement, in this lineage, so we can really bring change in our community and change in our families. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Let me know if you have any questions. If you want to raise your hand, you can also do that, and I can just bring you up. We have 10 minutes for that. So if you're doing that, I also want to invite, for those of you who are joining tomorrow, we're going to have a pretty somatic experience, more intensive than what we did today in the beginning. So I want to invite you to come wearing something comfortable tomorrow. We're going to do the liberation work as we begin thinking about the legacy that we're here to do. And it's almost a continuation of what we started today. Whatever it is that you saw that you are here to change, we're going to go deeper into beginning to change that. So I invite you to bring, to come with something comfortable that will allow you to move, because it's going to be a physical process, which is something that I've been doing quite a lot, which is what I believe the new medicine, the energy medicine we're moving into. The truth is that even our ancestors have always been very physical in nature. So I'm just integrating that into the work as well. So yeah, come with some comfortable clothing, and tomorrow we will jump into lineage legacy, and I'll be also in conversation with Nonofan Lekau about legacy, about money, because it's an important conversation, but also the work of lineage legacy, which is also an offering that we are having, that is particularly for those who are ready to begin to expand the impact that they're doing in this world, in this planet, right, in the way that you are called to. Yeah. Okay. So, hello, Mbali. Thank you for asking. So, Mbali, you're asking if you're still feeling new in the spiritual journey, being told you are a healer, yet still learning who you are, can one invest in the apprenticeship, or would you advise that they start sessions of lineage legacy? Great question. So I will advise that you join what we call the Lineage Liberators membership, which we will be talking about on day 3. I believe a lot of people here, because I've noticed that there's a lot of people who are non-healers and who are not necessarily in the path of healing. Day 3 is probably the day to not miss, because we will be talking about the membership, which is primarily to help you not only heal yourself, but to really connect with the healer aspect of yourself. So it's really focusing more on you the membership rather than on like doing the actual work of healing. So if you are not yet ready to be a healer or you haven't started that path, that will be the space to begin with us, right? So we do have offerings for those who are at the beginning, and that will be the offers that we're going to talk about on Thursday. So please come back again, Mbali, on Thursday to hear more about the membership that I will be co-facilitating with WEF. And yeah, we'll share more about that on Thursday. I hope that makes sense. And so today is for those who are the healing practitioners. Lineage Legacy is also primarily for those who are wanting to be in service, right? But it doesn't necessarily require that you will be like super advanced, but it requires that you actually be committed to be in service, right? So you can come and also listen to Lineage Legacy tomorrow as well. But you can feel free to go into our website to read on the Lineage Liberator membership. And if that resonates with you, you can already apply for that. Right, so our school is going to be opening its doors officially on the 15th of May. So there is still time, but we are doing the process of getting to know you. So there is an onboarding process that you will go through. So if you are sure and certain that you want to join this lineage work and you want to begin your journey, you can already begin to apply because we are already having conversations, interviews with those who are interested, and already beginning the onboarding process, which, because this is the first time we're actually launching 4 courses at the same time, which is very ballsy, by the way. I can tell you that because it can be a bit confusing, which is part of why we're doing this orientation symposium, to explain things so you understand where to go. So if you have any, again, if you are confused by certain things, please feel free to ask us in the next 3 days so that things are clear for you. So yeah, so we are already open to the process. So if you are sure, you can already begin that so that we can have a conversation with you and begin to take you on the onboarding process, because we're going to close the doors to all courses on the 15th. And then we are going to have an enrollment again in September, right? So we are going to be opening our doors twice every year moving forward. So if you're not able to join this semester, this enrollment season, you can join later in the year, right? So you can check that out, right? Is there an offering that is in between beginners and practitioners? The truth is that the Lineage Liberator membership is that, like, even a practitioner can do the membership, mostly because it doesn't mean we're just introducing concepts. It's a very, very deliberate and intentional process that we're doing, such that even if you've been practicing, and a lot of the times, sometimes you're a practitioner, but you don't have support, you don't have a community, right, to actively deal with the things, the stresses of your life, to even understand and expand your gnosis. So currently, right now, what I missed to school with the current cohort, there are a lot of people there who, you know, who've been on the path and they are still learning quite a lot, being in what I missed to school. The membership is a continuation of the current iteration before we moved into this bigger expanded school that we are now building, this movement that we are now doing, right? So the membership is definitely for all people, right? Especially if you're looking for community. So I really invite you to come and listen to that. Legacy can also be thought of as a space for those who are in between, who are ready to step into that purpose, to cultivate that, to begin to weave and build that legacy, right? It's almost like what is it called? An incubator, Lineage Legacy, which we're going to talk about tomorrow as well, like to incubate your ideas and to have support as you birth your purpose work, essentially, tomorrow. So that will be for the in-between as well as the the water bearers, which I'll speak about also on Thursday, which is also open to those who are in between as well. But the reality is that the only course that's actually very difficult, that is specific in who can join, is the apprenticeship, because it requires that you be a healer, which is what I was talking about today. The other ones, whether you are beginner, middle, or healer, practitioner, or advanced, you can join in. Definitely. Jennifer, I mean, I thought you're asking this, right? Yes. I mean, you've been with us in Soul Resurrection, and you know how deep we go, right? So of course you can imagine, like, even the membership will also be equally expansive for you, even if you have been doing this work. But thank you for that question, Jennifer. Thank you everyone for joining in. So wherever you are, I will ask you to just come to the south as we are coming to the end of this. I know that this was a big transmission, so I want to just help you integrate this, bringing your hand to the heart center and the left hand in the womb area, sacral center, and taking a deep breath in and out. And I want you to connect with the beat of the heart, to connect to that aliveness within yourself, to that stillness. I want you to feel that aliveness and all this wisdom that has been shared today. I want you to just allow it to move from the brain. You just send it throughout the body. Send it throughout your field into the land. We no longer have to move in the world burdened by the idea that we are alone and that we're doing this alone. Your field is a vast field that connects you not only to the earth, but to others. And when you are burdened and you are processing, you can always share what you are moving through with your field. We don't always have to converse with others about what we're going through, but we can converse with the land, with the field. So lay to rest all that was received, weave it into the field, and breathe in and out. And allowing that to ground into the center of the earth and going down below all the way to the surface, and reconnecting that back to the cosmos. For the earth is connected to the cosmos. As we return all this back to God, to the mind of God, and so that what we are learning can be shared with the collective consciousness. Thank you so much for joining with me today, for listening, for giving me your time. Thank you for considering joining our lineage, joining this movement. And thank you for continuing to support me, to support What I Missed to School, the team, through your attention, through your shares, through choosing to work with us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is, and so it is done. We seal this with the seal of the living source God, the seal of the cosmic Christ within ourselves, and the seal of Gaia, the lands in which we stand, the lands which nourish and give back to us. And so it is, and so it is done. Ashe. Thank you.